It's pretty wild out there in the markets right now.
Yeah, a little crazy.
I mean, just a little while ago,
Right.
the Nasdaq, it felt like it was on this unstoppable climb,
Totally unstoppable.
hitting those record highs like it was nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And now suddenly here we are, March 11th,
Yeah.
and we're staring at a correction,
Oh,
over 13% down from that peak we were just talking about.
big drop.
Huge drop and a 9% slip just this year alone.
Ooh,
It kind of makes you step back and take a look around,
for sure.
But for folks like our listeners who, really have their finger on the pulse,
Right.
these kinds of market swings can sometimes unearth
Oh, absolutely.
some really interesting opportunities.
Yeah. Market cycles, they're kind of a constant thing.
Right?
We see those periods of, crazy growth. And then almost like clockwork, we hit a point where things just
Yeah.
kind of reset,
Rebalance.
Exactly. And it's often during these times, these corrections. Even the companies with really strong fundamentals, they can get caught up
Oh, yeah.
in that broader market trend.
Yeah. Their stock prices get pulled down just fluidly.
Right. Down with it.
Because the whole thing is moving.
Exactly. And that's where that careful analysis that you were talking about,
Right.
that's where it can really pay off.
That's where it shines. And that actually brings us to the heart of
Okay.
our deep dive today. We've been digging into this piece
Right.
from The Motley Fool. They published it just yesterday, March 16th, 2025.
Oh, very recent.
Super recent. And the title really jumped out at us.
Oh, really? What's it called?
Got $1,000, one underrated artificial intelligence stock to buy during the Nasdaq's latest correction.
Okay. That's a pretty bold statement right out the gate,
Oh, absolutely.
especially when you consider how much attention AI is getting already.
Right.
You'd kind of think those stocks would be a little more,
Steady.
steady, maybe even resistant to these dips.
Right.
But as the article points out, even with all this AI excitement,
Yep.
the Nasdaq's pullback has put some serious downward pressure on these companies.
Oh, yeah.
No one's immune.
Exactly. So our mission today is to really dissect
Okay.
the main arguments that the Motley Fool is making in this article.
Right.
We want to get at, what's their logic
Yeah.
for singling out this one particular company
Mhm.
as a potential investment right now.
Right in the middle of this tech downturn.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're making a case for this specific player in the AI field.
Interesting.
And they're suggesting that this could be like a strategic entry point
Oh.
for anyone who's, thinking long term.
So who is this mystery company?
Well, they don't keep us hanging for too long.
Right.
The article reveals that the company they're highlighting is
Drum roll, please.
none other than Alphabet.
Alphabet. Wow. Okay.
Tickers GOG and GOOGL.
Yeah, those are familiar.
Right. So the Motley Fool, they're calling Alphabet an underrated AI stock.
Underrated.
That's their word. And they're saying it looks more and more appealing as the market gets, kind of rocky.
So are they suggesting people buy it now?
That's their implication. Yeah, they're basically saying
Okay.
if you've got, let's say, around $1,000
Right.
ready to invest, this might be the moment to snag some shares.
Interesting for the long haul.
For the long haul, exactly.
Okay, I'm curious about this underrated thing.
Me too.
I mean, Alphabet's huge,
Oh, yeah, a behemoth.
right? When most people think tech giants and AI,
Right.
maybe some other names pop up first.
Oh, sure.
So what makes the Motley Fool call Alphabet underrated?
Well, their argument is that while most folks, when
Mhm.
they think Alphabet, they immediately think Google search.
Yeah, that's the first thing I think of.
The average person doesn't necessarily connect them with AI.
Okay.
But the article makes this really interesting point.
Right.
Alphabet's been deeply involved in AI for a long time.
They haven't just jumped on the bandwagon recently.
Yeah, not at all. They've been like foundational innovators in this space
Oh.
for years. And that's where their dedicated AI research division,
Okay.
DeepMind, that's where it comes into play.
DeepMind, right? I've heard the name.
But it's not always front and center.
No, it's not. Like, what exactly do they do at DeepMind?
But think of them as like Alphabet's internal think tank
Okay.
for all things cutting edge AI.
Right.
Their whole purpose is to push the limits of what's possible with AI.
So they're the ones coming up with the advanced AI models.
Yeah. That's them.
Machine learning algorithm and all that stuff.
Exactly. They're developing deep learning frameworks.
Wow.
Reinforcement learning systems, you name it.
So they're like the engine behind Alphabet's most advanced AI.
Exactly. And it's not just about integrating existing AI technologies.
Right.
It's about creating those fundamental AI breakthroughs from scratch.
That's impressive.
And, DeepMind, while they might operate kind of behind the scenes compared to products like Google search or YouTube.
Right. The average person doesn't interact with them directly.
Right. But they have been absolutely crucial to Alphabet's journey in AI.
Interesting.
The article specifically highlights the development of Alphabet's own AI model, Gemini.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of Gemini.
As a direct result of DeepMind's extensive research.
So that gives Alphabet a huge advantage.
Oh, yeah. They're not just relying on outside providers.
Or scrambling to build up their infrastructure.
Exactly. They've been building this really strong foundation for a while now.
For years.
Years. And it's not all flashy stuff either, like their work on reinforcement learning.
Okay.
They used it to master complex games initially, but now they're applying it to things like optimizing algorithms within Google Cloud.
So making things more efficient for their clients.
Exactly. That's the level they're working on.
Wow, that long-term commitment to fundamental AI research?
Right.
That's got to be a big asset.
It really is. And speaking of big assets,
Okay.
the article also points to some pretty massive numbers.
What kind of numbers?
When we're talking about Alphabet's current spending levels,
Okay.
we're talking serious investment here.
Lay it on me.
So they invested a huge $52 billion in capital expenditure in 2024.
52 billion.
Wow. And they're not letting up in 2025. They're projecting to spend
Oh my.
around $75 billion.
$75 billion. What are they building?
That's a good question, right?
Yeah, what could possibly require that kind of capital?
Well, the article connects this enormous financial commitment
Okay.
directly to their priorities in AI.
No surprise there.
And their rapidly growing cloud computing division, Google Cloud.
Google Cloud, right? Making big moves.
Huge moves. And while they don't give us an exact breakdown of
Right.
where every dollar is going,
Uh-huh.
the implication is clear.
Okay.
A big chunk of that $75 billion is going towards boosting their AI capabilities,
That makes sense.
both in terms of research
Mhm.
and the computing power needed to run these advanced models.
Right. It's not cheap to keep those things running.
No, it's not. And they're also using it to build out their cloud infrastructure
Okay.
to keep pace with the growing demand.
So they're putting their money where their mouth is?
Oh, yeah, big time. And just think about the scale of this increase.
Right.
That planned $75 billion for 2025.
Yeah.
That's a jump of over 130% compared to their capital expenditure back in 2023.
That's a serious statement.
It really shows how aggressive they're being in these areas.
Totally. And, we were talking about AI,
Yeah.
but they're also pouring resources into Google Cloud.
Oh, absolutely.
The article's really highlighting that as a major growth driver for them.
Yeah, and for good reason, cloud computing is like
Oh, it's huge.
the engine of growth for so many of these big tech companies.
Yeah, it's where everything's moving.
And Google Cloud is right there in the thick of it.
All right, so where do they stand in the cloud market?
Well, right now they're holding down the third spot
Okay,
in terms of market share.
behind the big two.
Exactly, trailing Amazon Web Services, AWS, and Microsoft Azure.
Yeah, those are the giants.
They are, but Google Cloud, they're still a major player.
Okay,
And they've got some serious momentum.
that's good to hear.
Yeah, the article points out that in the last 7 years,
Mm-hmm.
Google Cloud's market share has actually doubled.
Wow,
It's now at 12%.
that's a big jump.
And that puts them comfortably ahead of other big names,
Like who?
like Alibaba Cloud, for instance.
Oh, wow. Okay, so they're moving up in the world.
They are, and their recent financial performance really underscores that.
What do the numbers look like?
Well, in the fourth quarter of last year,
Oh,
Google Cloud pulled in a whopping $12 billion in revenue.
12 billion. That's impressive.
That's a 30% increase year over year.
That's huge.
And even Alphabet's CEO, Sundar Pichai,
Right.
he specifically talked about
Okay.
the growing customer demand
Yeah.
that they're seeing for the AI-powered Google Cloud platform.
Just not just about the infrastructure they're building, and it's about the AI they're weaving into it.
Exactly. That's the differentiator.
Smart move.
And it really validates these big investments they're making.
Totally. And, when you look at all of this, Google Cloud, it's not just some side project for Alphabet anymore.
No.
It's becoming a core part of their financial picture.
Absolutely. The article really emphasizes that.
Okay.
In that same fourth quarter, Google Cloud contributed 12%
Wow.
to Alphabet's total revenue, which was a massive $96.5 billion.
12%, that's a significant chunk.
It is. And just to put that in perspective,
Right.
just 5 years ago, Google Cloud was only bringing in about 5%.
Oh, wow. So that's more than doubled.
Yeah, it's a clear upward trajectory.
So they're not just a search company anymore.
Exactly. And the article touches on that too.
Okay.
You know, Alphabet's been relying on Google search for so long.
It's their bread and butter, right?
It is. It's their cash cow. But for long-term growth and stability,
Right.
they need to diversify.
They can't just rely on one thing.
Exactly. And that's where Google Cloud comes in.
So it's a good thing it's growing so fast.
It is. It's a very encouraging sign that they're not putting all their eggs in one basket.
Absolutely. And all of this ties back to the underrated argument.
All right, let's talk about the stock price.
Yeah. The Motley Fool is saying Alphabet stock is looking like a bargain right now.
That's their word, and they've got some numbers to back it up.
Okay. I'm listening.
Just a few months ago, Alphabet's stock was trading at a price-to-earnings ratio.
PE ratio.
Yeah, of almost 34.
Okay.
Which wasn't the highest among the Magnificent Seven tech stocks.
Right.
But it definitely wasn't considered cheap.
No, not by a long shot.
But then, with this market downturn and the drop in Alphabet's stock price, the valuation has changed a lot.
How so?
Well, the stock is now trading at a PE ratio of just over 20.
Okay, that's a big difference.
Huge difference. And the Motley Fool is calling this bargain territory.
Bargain territory, interesting.
Much more attractive than its recent average.
So essentially what they're saying is this Nasdaq correction, it's created a better buying opportunity.
Exactly, for investors who are interested in Alphabet.
Okay, that makes sense.
But they're not saying it's risk-free.
Of course not. No investment is risk-free.
Right. They acknowledge that investing in stocks, especially tech stocks, it always carries some level of risk.
For sure.
But their point is that the potential downside of buying Alphabet shares now, it's lower than it was just a few months ago.
When the price was higher.
Exactly, when the stock was trading at that much higher valuation.
Okay, so what are they recommending for people who are thinking about buying?
Well, they're basically saying if you're optimistic about Alphabet's long-term prospects, especially in AI and cloud computing, now could be a good time to start accumulating shares.
So jump in while the price is right.
Yeah, and they even mention dollar cost averaging.
Right.
Which is that strategy where you invest a fixed amount.
Regularly over time.
Exactly, regardless of the stock price.
To smooth out those fluctuations.
Exactly. It helps mitigate the risk of going all in right before a potential dip.
It's smart strategy.
It is. So let's bring it all together.
All right.
What are the big takeaways from our deep dive into the Motley Fool's thinking?
Why they're calling Alphabet underrated.
Exactly. So first key point. Alphabet has a long and impressive track record in AI.
Driven by DeepMind.
Exactly. And that gives them a real edge over the competition.
Okay, what else?
Second, they're investing massive amounts of money in both AI and their cloud infrastructure.
Showing they're serious about these areas.
Absolutely. And third, Google Cloud, it's growing like crazy.
Yeah.
And it's becoming a crucial part of Alphabet's revenue stream.
Helping them move beyond just search advertising.
Exactly. And finally, the recent Nasdaq correction.
Right.
It's brought Alphabet's stock valuation down to a level that the Motley Fool is calling a bargain.
So the stars are kind of aligning.
Yeah, that's their argument. They're saying this dip in the market, it's created a window of opportunity.
To buy a company with strong fundamentals.
Exactly. And huge potential in AI and cloud computing.
And that company is Alphabet.
That's their thesis.
Interesting stuff.
It is. So for you, the listener,
Right.
Hopefully this deep dive has given you a clear picture of why the Motley Fool is highlighting Alphabet right now.
It's food for thought.
Definitely something to consider as you're thinking about your own investment strategy.
And your risk tolerance, of course.
Of course, no investment is without risk.
Right. And as always, it's crucial to do your own research.
Absolutely.
And make sure any investment decisions you make align with your financial goals.
Couldn't agree more. And, you know, thinking about Alphabet and their track record.
Yeah.
They've been so innovative, not just with search, but now with this big push into AI and cloud computing.
It makes you wonder what they'll do next.
Exactly. It really sparks this question in my mind. What other unexpected industries or technologies could they disrupt in the next few years?
Oh, that's a good question.
And how will those future ventures impact their long-term value?
Right, beyond just their core businesses.
It's a fascinating landscape to watch unfold, that's for sure.
It really is.